Hello everyone, welcome to Lukmaan IAS. Today we are going to have the Hindu newspaper analysis dated 4th of January 2024. In today's newspaper analysis, we are going to cover the important articles from the newspaper, and we are also going to cover a mapping topic. And that mapping topic will help you to solve questions in the UPSC Prelims exam. And the topics that came in today's newspaper were from multiple sections. They are from Indian economy, Indian polity, science and technology, and international relations, health. So there are many areas that have been covered, right? So we are going to discuss these topics in today's newspaper, all right? So let us begin the discussion with the first topic, which is a mapping topic. So this particular topic has been in news yesterday. It says the port of Berbera, right? So we are going to discuss this particular location, port of Berbera. So many a times those places that remain in news, they reflect in the UPSC prelims paper as well in the form of mapping questions. So on one side, on the left side, they will be giving the name of those places that are in news, and they will on the right side mention about the regions, maybe countries where they are located. Okay, so we are going to discuss about port of Berbera. Where is it located? So here we need to understand that port of Berbera is located in Somaliland. This is Somaliland, right? And this is the port of Berbera. So this particular port of Berbera shares its maritime boundary with Gulf of Aden. You see, Gulf of Aden is the region with which port of Berbera shares its location. Apart from this, right, here Red Sea was also recently in news. We know Red Sea was in news because the cargo ships that were passing through the Red Sea, they were being attacked by Houthi rebels, and Houthi rebels reside in Yemen. This is the country, right? Apart from this, over here we have a strait, a narrow channel of water that connects Red Sea with Gulf of Aden, and this strait is known as Strait of Bab el Mandeb. Okay, this strait is known as Strait of Bab el Mandeb, right? We earlier discussed about Strait of Bab el Mandeb. If you are attending the Hindu newspaper regularly, whenever we are conducting discussions, so you will come to know all these places that we are discussing, all right? So here we need to understand that why the port of Berbera is in news. It is in news because recently Ethiopia and Somalia or Somaliland, they have reached an agreement, right? In that agreement, they have decided together that they are going to share the access of the port of Berbera over here. Okay, so Ethiopia and Somaliland, they will share the access of port of Berbera. But the thing is, this port of Berbera is a, let's say, territory of Somaliland. It's a territory of Somalia. We see over here this particular map. It is a map of what? It is a map of Horn of Africa. This is known as Horn of Africa. So Somalia, Djibouti, Ethiopia, these countries that we are talking about, these countries are part of African continent. But to the eastern portion of Africa, to the northeastern portion of Africa, we have this particular region which is, let's say, like, demarcated using light green color in this map. So these countries are part of Horn of Africa. So which countries are part of Horn of Africa? We will quickly discuss. Number one country is Sudan. Then we have Kenya, second country. Third country is Somalia. Fourth country is Ethiopia. Fifth country is Eritrea. And sixth country is Djibouti. These are the 6 countries that are part of Horn of Africa. Okay, these are part of Horn of Africa. So through this single discussion, we have discussed about the port of Berbera. We have discussed about Strait of Bab el Mandeb, Red Sea, Gulf of Aden. We have also discussed about Horn of Africa. So remember these locations, right? And continuously upgrade your knowledge related to mapping related topics, places in news. This will help you to solve questions in the prelims exam. Prelims is becoming tough year on year. So it is very important that you keep an edge, right? If you want to qualify the prelims and mains and interview, right? So the mapping section will give you an edge in that regard. So let us discuss about the first article from the newspaper. It says Supreme Court upholds SEBI probe, turns the spotlight on Hindenburg conduct. So here we are going to discuss about a very important topic. This topic has been in news because of many reasons. So name of this topic, this is topic number 1. Name of the topic is Supreme Court upholds SEBI probe. Supreme Court upholds SEBI probe, turns the spotlight on Hindenburg's conduct. Turns the spotlight on Hindenburg conduct. So let us discuss about this particular topic. As we know that what has happened recently, the SEBI, so here we are going to discuss about those entities that are in news, right? So it is important that you understand the entities, or you understand the kind of context why this is in news. So let us discuss about the context first, right? Understanding context will help you, let's say, to know little more about this topic. So in this article, basically they have discussed about a report. Which report? Report that was released by Hindenburg, right? Report that was released by Hindenburg, okay, Hindenburg report. And so Hindenburg has released a report, and this report, through this report, basically what they have done, they have, let's say, put some allegations, right? They have put some allegations on Adani Group, right? They have put some allegation on Adani Group. So as we know, Adanis are one of the wealthiest, people. Adani Group, I mean, like, this is one of the wealthiest, Mr. Adani is one of the wealthiest person in India. So through the Hindenburg report, they have, let's say, accused Adani Group of some kind of misconduct, right, in raising the price of shares in the stock market. So they have put multiple allegations, and the opposition let's say members, right, opposition party members have also raised slogans in the parliament in the past. So the thing is, this has led to a kind of investigation to be started, right? So Supreme Court of India has mandated the Securities and Exchange Board of India, right? So what has happened? So allegations have been put by this particular thing, and this has led to the Supreme Court of India mandating the Securities and Exchange Board of India to conduct investigations, right? Investigations on the claims that were made through the Hindenburg report. But after the investigations, 24 different charges were labeled, right? So 22 out of 24 charges were already investigated, okay? They were already investigated. And the thing is, recently Supreme Court of India has given a judgment also, and Supreme Court of India has accepted the kind of probe or investigation that was conducted by the Securities and Exchange Board of India in that regard. But the thing is, there were many people who are against, let's say, SEBI conducting this particular investigation. So they say that SEBI has been lenient in conducting investigation, and the judgment that the Supreme Court of India has given, so like this has been labeled by opposition members, right, as let's say, some kind of more leniency have been given to Adani Group and all. So the thing is, if we talk about Securities and Exchange Board of India, this is the market regulator, this is the regulator of the, let's say, securities market in India. And not only SEBI has conducted, SEBI has created a panel of experts. In that panel of experts, so there were, let's say, members of the judiciary also. So there were members of the judiciary, and the members of the judiciary, they have right, created a committee, expert committee. This is known as Justice A.M. Sapre Committee. Okay, so I'm going to write down name of the committees or a committee also that has been created to look into this particular aspect. This is name of the committee is Justice A.M. Sapre Committee. So Justice A.M. Sapre Committee has, let's say, like after doing investigation, has submitted the report, and this report has been accepted by the Supreme Court of India. So in this article, Supreme Court of India has upheld the investigation that was conducted by the Securities and Exchange Board of India, and the Supreme Court of India has also asked the SEBI to look into the aspect whether the Hindenburg research or Hindenburg report that was released, right, whether this particular report has caused any kind of, let's say, leniency. So they have used a specific keyword, right, that like whether they are like, you know, they are associated with any kind of, let's say, like, you know, leniency of law. Right, so in that case, the Hindenburg as a group may be probed further. Okay, so the Supreme Court of India has given this particular judgment. So there was a relief for the regulator, there was relief for the Securities and Exchange Board of India, and whatever let's say suggestion they have submitted, Supreme Court of India has accepted that particular thing. But this is not a final verdict, this is not a final judgment. The Supreme Court of India is further going to take a call in this particular thing, but so far, let's say, it is a kind of interim relief for the Securities and Exchange Board of India because its investigation has been approved, has been accepted by the Supreme Court of India in this case. So with this, let us now move to the next article for the day. It says, IT searches are a form of extra constitutional power. We are going to discuss about this article in detail. This is topic number 2. It says IT. IT means income tax. Income tax searches, a form of extra constitutional power. So let us discuss about this. So basically this article has been written by an author, and this author actually criticizes one of the search that was conducted by the income tax department on the house of a lawyer. Okay, so there was a lawyer who is based in Gujarat, who is based in Surat. So that lawyer's house was investigated by the income tax authorities. So they are like, you know, for several days, and during those days, during those 3-4 days time period, the family members of the lawyer were not allowed to go anywhere. So they were put on a virtual detention. It was a kind of virtual detention. So through this article, the author wants to put his, let's say, point across, right, by saying that the IT searches, the searches that were conducted, searches and raids that are being conducted by the income tax authorities, they are extra constitutional. Okay, they are not mentioned in the Constitution of India. So they are, let's say, utilizing the power which is beyond the scope of the Constitution of India. Okay, so here in this article, the author also talks about many other aspects also. Okay, so what is the aspect? One of the things that the author has discussed about is Justice Putta Swamy judgment. Which judgment? Justice Putta Swamy judgment of the Supreme Court of India. So why Justice Putta Swamy judgment is important? It is important because of many reasons. So we are going to discuss about those reasons. Number one, through this particular judgment, the Supreme Court of India has upheld, right, the right to privacy of individuals, right? So Supreme Court of India has upheld right to privacy of individuals. Apart from this, this particular article, this particular judgment also talks about, let's say, talks about various other important things, and that is doctrine of proportionality. Basically, doctrine of proportionality. We are going to discuss about it. So Supreme Court of India has upheld the fundamental right to privacy of individuals, and this Justice Puttaswamy judgment, right, this was given by a 9-judge bench of the Supreme Court of India. Okay, 9-judge constitutional bench, right, 9-judge constitutional bench of the Supreme Court of India. So the thing is, this verdict is considered to be one of the, let's say, most authoritative verdict of the Supreme Court of India. Soon after this verdict, people started believing that their fundamental rights to privacy will be upheld by the, let's say, executive, by the, let's say, agencies of the executive. But what has happened? The executive, let's say, like, through its multiple machineries, they somehow try to, let's say, overlook into these judgments that have been passed by the Supreme Court of India. Not only this, through this article, the author also talks about some of the high courts, right? So many high courts have recently given judgments, and in their judgments, somehow, let's say, they did not refer to the Justice Puttaswamy case verdict, right? And those judgments that are related to the right to privacy. And one of that case is the case of, let's say, like, case of Gujarat. So in Gujarat, there was a lawyer, right? So a notable example of this feature is the use of section 132 of the Income Tax Act 1961. So here in this article, they have discussed about a case, okay, a case. And in that case, they have mentioned about section 132 of the Income Tax Act. Income Tax Act of 1961. So this section 132 of the Income Tax Act 1961 gives the power to the tax authorities to conduct search and seizures, right? To conduct search and seizures. But this should be utilized, right, in a properly defined manner, right? It should be done in a very cautious way. I mean, in this article, the author has said that, like, it should not be the business of the taxman, it should not be the business of the let's say, IT officials to detain the members of, let's say, like, family members of a person who is suspected of have, let's say, evaded some tax or have done some irregularity related to tax filing and all. And the Gujarat High Court has questioned the income tax authorities on a raid conducted on a lawyer where he and his family members, according to his counsel, were kept in virtual detention for days together, with the search continuing between morning of November 3 to the morning of November 7. So this is one specific case where the Gujarat High Court has, let's say, like, questioned the income tax authorities, right? What permits you to, let's say, detain people, right? You can do search, you can do seizure, but, like, you cannot detain people. That's the thing. And here in this article, the author makes it clear that the thing is, author says two important things, that search and seizures are done, right, in India lawfully, but they should be under the supervision of magistrates, and this is done by the police authorities, but they are not related to tax related matters. So author says, first, immediately following this passage, the judgment in MP Sharma also records the fact that the court was concerned there with the searches under the Code of Criminal Procedure. So whenever search are being done, search are being done in the premises of, let's say, private individuals' houses, so those searches are of the nature of, let's say, CRPC, Code of Criminal Procedure. So it is done under the, let's say, authority of a executive magistrate, right, of a magistrate. Right, so that is done. But the thing is here, what is happening, that IT officials are detaining people, right? Second, this is no fault of the judges in Puranmal, the court, means, like, in this article they have given many example of case laws. So I'm just going to write down those case laws for you. Maybe let's say like you can utilize those case laws while writing some answers. You can mention those case laws. I'm just writing one like these case laws one by one. One of the case law is known as Puranmal case. It is Puranmal case. This is how it is written. No further information is given. Then there is another case, MP Sharma case. These cases may be very prominent with respect to taxation matters, right? Apart from this, there is another case that is mentioned, which is Principal Director of Income Tax Investigation and others versus Lalji Bhai, Khanji Bhai, Mandalia. Okay, so in this particular case that I am talking about here, the court did not pay heed to the Justice Puttaswamy case, to the Justice Puttaswamy judgment. Okay, so finally the author says that a bare reading of section 132 of the Income Tax Act suggests a breach of the doctrine of proportionality. Means here, as I have written over here, doctrine of proportionality. What does it mean? Doctrine of proportionality means like you need to see that what is the amount of misconduct that is suspected that a person has done, right? If the amount of misconduct is minute, you cannot do search and seizure to such a level that you detain the family members of the accused person, right? If it is very heavy, if there are gross misconduct, gross financial violation, in that case it may be accepted, right? But the thing is, the income tax authorities, they should adhere to the principle of or doctrine of proportionality, right? So it depends from case to case. If there are gross violation, in that case you may go with force, you may go with huge number of people. But if it is a petty matter, you should not bring the entire force with you to do search and seizure in the houses. So this is what the author is saying. Okay, author is highlighting the importance of doctrine of proportionality. Okay, proportionality means if little violation has happened, little mechanism must be used, not let's say like entire thing must be used. That's the thing. So with this, let us now quickly move to another article. It says the blood management system needs a fresh infusion. So this article has been written by a health professional. He is a senior vice president and general manager of Global Blood Solutions. Okay, so we are going to discuss about like how the blood management system, right, in India works and why does it need a fresh infusion, right? So we are going to discuss about this topic, right? So this is topic number 3. The blood management system needs a fresh infusion. So let us discuss about this blood management, right? Blood management. Let us understand about this aspect of blood management. Then we are going to discuss in detail about this particular article. When we talk about blood management, here we have two important factors. One important factor is, let's say, a patient, right, who is in need of blood. A patient, right, who is in need of blood. Then to match this need of blood, we need, let's say, blood donors, right? Donors of blood. We need donors of blood. As we all know, human bloods are not manufactured in the laboratories, right? So if there is a patient who has gone who has met with an accident, right? For his treatment, the doctors may need units of blood. And how do they get units of blood? Generally, if that patient has some relative, if some relative has got that patient to the hospital, let's say hospital will ask the relative of the patient to submit, right, 1 or 2 or few units of blood, right, to the hospital, right, to the blood bank of the hospital. And from the blood bank of the hospital, whenever the doctors need blood, they ask their relatives to bring the units of blood to the, let's say, to that particular ICU wherever the patient is getting treated, right? But the thing is, this is in case wherever there is a patient and his family members or relatives are bringing him to the healthcare facilities. But the thing is, there are many situations where huge number of blood requirement arises. Means like, there are situations, for example, if there is an accident, there is a patient who has met with an accident. In this article, they have talked about an accident patient may need up to 50 units of blood. So how can a person get 50 units of blood? That will be a very difficult thing to manage, right? That will be a very difficult thing to get. But the thing is, in India, there are less awareness among the people for blood donation. You might have seen blood donation camps here and there, but because of less awareness, many of us do not, let's say, donate blood. Why? One of the thing is, let's say, for example, whenever you are thinking of donating blood, you may think that they may use some kind of syringes, and those syringes may infect us. It may lead to HIV, it may lead to other kind of infection. That is one, let's say, common misconception that people may have. Other thing is, let's say, for example, if you are moving from your institution to your home, or if you are on the transit, right? Meanwhile, you see a blood donation camp, right? So the thing is, you may be willing to donate the blood, but you may think that it is going to take much amount of time. So because of, let's say, because you don't know how much time it is going to take, right? You do not take the step of donating blood. That's another thing. And there are similarly many other misconceptions, many other, let's say, lack of awareness that is there, let's say, with people. And because of lack of awareness, people do not actively participate in blood donation camps. Another thing is, let's say, if I donate the blood, like what time will it take for my body to recover that blood, to, let's say, gain back that donated blood. So that's also little known, right? So some people might be knowing, others are not knowing it. So they do not actively participate in donating blood. So the thing is, the World Health Organization has released a report. In that particular report, the World Health Organization has said that disparities in blood collection arises. For example, despite having 14% of global population, countries in the WHO African region could only collect 5% of the global donation. Okay, means in African region, they have 14% of the global population, and these countries were able to get only 5% of blood donation globally. That's the thing. Comparable patterns emerge in low income and lower middle income nations, where these countries receive 2% and 24% of the worldwide contribution respectively, even though their population account for only 8% and 40% of the global population respectively. So in this article, the author has discussed about, let's say, blood management by healthcare facilities. Okay, blood management by healthcare facilities means like hospitals and all. So they face the problem that, on one side, donors, blood donors, and on the other side, let's say, on one side there is donor, on the other side there are, let's say, patients who need the blood. I'm just writing directly patients. So there is a mismatch between them. Okay, there is a mismatch between them. Okay, there is a mismatch between them. And this mismatch many a times arises because of lack of awareness. In this article, the author says that we need to generate more awareness among the people so that people know about the benefits of donating blood. If you are donating blood, it is going to save the life of a person. This is one thing. And anyhow, your body will regenerate the blood. Okay, so you have the bone marrow. So that actually helps in the generation of blood in the body. right? This is what the author says. So we need to dispel the myth around blood donation. Author discussed about this thing as well. And author says like we need to adopt hub and spoke model. Okay, what? Author talks about hub and spoke model. So what is this hub and spoke model? For this, let us understand this particular diagram. This is known as hub and spoke model. What is happening over here? There will be a central point, right? There will be a central point, maybe a health authority, health agency, right? That is, let's say, like, there to disseminate information, that is there to, let's say, circulate information related to blood donation, right? Awareness generation campaigns. And they can, at the same time, they can send those vehicles like, around different places in the cities. And these vehicles will be going and, let's say, collecting the blood from the patients. Hub and spoke model means there should be a central authority, central agency, right, that coordinates with all other small level agencies for effective implementation of the program related to blood collection, right? That's the thing. And in this article, the author has talked about we need to dispel the myths that are associated with blood donation. Finally, author says that prioritizing access to blood and its products remain fundamental to building a resilient global health architecture. Okay, we need to prioritize access to blood and its product. Okay, so access to blood and its product must be available. So with this, let us now move to another article. This article is also important. It says blow to Netanyahu. Okay, so this article is related to the Prime Minister of Israel. And why Prime Minister of Israel is in news? There are many factors. We are going to discuss about some of these factors now. This is topic number 4. So it says blow to Netanyahu. So let's discuss. So basically, to understand about Israel, we need to understand about let's say quickly understand about the map of Israel. Okay, let's quickly understand about map of Israel. So this particular location that I have highlighted using yellow color, this is known as Gaza Strip. Okay, this is known as Gaza Strip. This region is Israel. Over here there is a small region with, this is known as West Bank. Then this Israel is surrounded by some countries. Here it is surrounded by Egypt. Here we have Lebanon. We have Syria. Here we have Jordan. These are the countries that surround Israel, and here we have Mediterranean Sea. Okay, we have Mediterranean Sea. Then to the south, here we have Sinai Peninsula. Sinai Peninsula. This Sinai Peninsula is a territory of Egypt. Okay, so this is the location of Israel. Here we need to understand about few factors. What are those factors? On one side, we need to discuss about, let's say, the Israel as a country, right? Israel as a country. So what is happening in Israel? Basically, like on Israel, on 7th of October, there was an attack. There was an attack by Hamas group, right? There was an attack on Israel by Hamas. And Hamas has done attack, let's say, through different routes. Like they have done attack through air, they have done attack through water, they have done attack through land as well. Means it was a well-planned attack. So they have killed around, let's say, like, 1200 to 1400 Israeli people in one day attack on 7th of October. So they have done. And the thing is, this attack is not standalone attack. So there is a history of warfare between, let's say, like, Palestine and Israel. So when we talk about Gaza Strip, When we talk about West Bank, these are the territories, right? Gaza Strip and West Bank, these are territories of Palestine, okay? In Gaza Strip, Hamas group resides, okay? Hamas means the Islamic resistance movement. Hamas means the Islamic resistance movement. So before this, in 1973, there were war between Israel and Palestine. On the eve, after 50 years, right, on 7th of October 2023, the Hamas group has launched an attack on Israel. And this particular attack on Israel is considered to be one of the failure of Israel. Why? Because Israel has one of the strongest and most powerful, let's say, intelligence agencies in the world. The intelligence agency of Israel is known as Mossad. Okay, it is known as Mossad. And it is considered to be the strongest intelligence agency in the world, right? So there are stories about Mossad in the world. That's the thing. But this particular attack is considered to be a failure of intelligence on part of Israel. And this attack has happened during the Prime Minister of Benjamin Netanyahu. He is the Prime Minister still. But soon after the attack, Israel has gone into a retaliatory mode. So Israel is attacking on Gaza Strip. It has killed, let's say, many civilians over there. Mostly women and children has been killed. And there is pressure from international grouping, international organization on Israel that Israel should, let's say, go for ceasefire. Okay. Earlier, only Iran and some Muslim Brotherhood countries were let's say, like, asking for a ceasefire. Later on, through the United Nations General Assembly also, what has happened? I mean, like, resolutions have been passed against Israel, right? But still, Israeli government is on a, let's say, like, offensive mode, on a attacking mode on Hamas. That's the thing. During this point of time, what the Israel has done, in Israel, there is a parliament, okay? In Israel, there is a parliament. And this parliament is known as Knesset. Okay, this parliament is known as Knesset. Okay, name of the parliament is Knesset. So the Israeli government, the government that is there in Israel now, they are, let's say, like, the right-wing group. Since they are a right-wing group, so they are, let's say, like, against Hamas. They want to eliminate Hamas. And so, like, they do not want to go for ceasefire. And Knesset has recently passed a law, and through that law, the Knesset wants to, let's say, like, reduce the power of the Supreme Court in Israel. But for the first time in the history of Supreme Court of Israel, the Supreme Court of Israel has sat together. It has around 15 chief justices, so like 15 judges, and 15 judges like sat together, and they have passed a resolution, they have passed a verdict, and through that verdict, what they have done, they have overturned the law that was passed by the Knesset in Israel. So this has happened for the first time, that a law has been overturned by the Supreme Court in Israel, and this is being seen, right? This has been seen as an extraordinary, let's say, like, action in extraordinary time by the Supreme Court in Israel, and this is also considered to be a setback for the Netanyahu government, for the government of Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel. That's the thing. So in this article, they say blow to Netanyahu, and this blow has been given by the Supreme Court, by the Supreme Court of Israel. Why? Because Supreme Court of Israel has turned down an act that was passed by Benjamin Netanyahu government. In this article, they have not mentioned the details of that particular act, but that act wanted to, let's say, like, reduce the power of the Supreme Court, right? But the thing is, the Supreme Court has, let's say, like, nullified that particular act. That's the thing. So with this, let us now quickly move to another article. It says, the dispute on India's debt burden. This is a very important article. It's related to Indian economy and external sector of Indian economy. We are going to discuss about this article, right? Quickly. This is topic number 5. So here it says, the dispute on India's debt burden. The dispute on India's debt burden. This article is very, very important because here through this article we are going to talk about, right, the International Monetary Fund, right. So here this topic is important under Indian economy. Let's understand, right? It is important under Indian economy. So in this article basically we are going to discuss about some concepts, right? The concepts related to, one of the concept that we are going to discuss is related to the concept of external debt. Concept of external debt. So what do we mean by external debt, right? So basically India as a country, right? So India, I'm just drawing a small map of India. Okay, so I have just drawn a map of India so that like we understand it clearly. India as a country, inside India, right, we have Indian economy. But the thing is, government of India also borrows from outside, right? Government of India borrows from outside. So when India, right, when India borrows, right, when India borrows from outside, right, borrows from outside. So from which sources it borrows? Number one, it borrows from international financial institutions. One of the thing is it borrows from international financial institutions. So I'm just directly writing name of them, maybe IMF, World Bank, right? Second thing is it may borrow from other countries, right? Borrow from other sovereign countries, like that. So whatever money that we borrow from other countries, these money we need to repay them. Okay. So after borrowing, what we need to do? We need to, like, India needs to repay the amount that it has borrowed. So repayment has two important components. What are those components? Number one component is we are repaying the principal amount. Whatever amount you have borrowed, you need to pay back, let's say, principal amount, and then you need to pay the interest also, right? You need to pay the interest as well. So repayment consists of servicing the debt. There are keywords that are used related to this, right? In economy, we use a keyword. That keyword is known as debt servicing. Okay, it is known as debt servicing. Debt servicing means when you are repaying the amount that you have borrowed along with the principal amount, right? You are repaying principal, you are paying interest. Maybe you may be paying in a let's say equated monthly installments or on an annual basis. It depends, let's say, on the terms of right, that you have settled while borrowing. This is the thing. So India as a country, right? India does have a accounting system. That what is the total value of the goods and services that we produce, that is known as GDP, gross domestic product, right? So anything that we borrow from outside, right, that borrowed amount is considered to be as percentage of GDP. So the thing is, if we talk about the total borrowed amount, okay, if we talk about total external debt, right, total external debt of India, right, total external debt of India, if we consider it from let's say year wise, number one, first, in the year of 2020, here they have talked about, let's say, those year also, they have mentioned those years. In the year of 2019 to 21, we have borrowed around 81%. Then it has raised to 84%. Later on also it has come down to 81%. Okay, so just a minute. Global public debt. So here in this article basically they have mentioned that India's public debt to GDP ratio has barely increased from 81% in 2005-6 to 84% in 2021-22. Okay, this is known as India's debt to GDP ratio. Okay, there is a term which is known as debt to GDP ratio. Okay, debt to GDP ratio. So when we talk about debt to GDP ratio, so what is the debt to GDP ratio at this point of time? It is around 81%. Okay, so it has gone from 81% to 84% debt to GDP ratio. Means like total debt that we have borrowed, total amount that we have borrowed from outside, and total as part of, let's say, like, you know, GDP. So debt will be here, debt upon GDP. This ratio is around 81% to 84% in case of India. This is the thing, and this is a very high amount. And recently there was Article 4 consultation between India and International Monetary Fund. So recently the International Monetary Fund has talked about two things. First, IMF has raised concerns about the long-term sustainability of India's debt. Means India has borrowed from outside, so this the amount that it has borrowed, will it be able to repay this borrowed amount, right? Or will it be borrowing further? So IMF has raised concerns about, let's say, long-term sustainability of India's external debt. Second thing that the IMF has pointed out, that it reclassified India's exchange rate regime, terming it as stabilized arrangement instead of floating arrangement. Okay, so from International Monetary Fund, whatever amount that the India has borrowed, so they have termed it as stabilized arrangement rather than floating arrangement. So these are some of the keywords that the IMF has done. This is part of Article 4 consultation. It is known as what? Article 4 consultation. Article 4 consultation. Okay, it has raised two issues as I discussed over here. There are many countries, right, where the amount that they spend on education, that they spend on health, education and health, this amount is much lesser than the amount that they repay in the form of interest to other countries. For example, if you are borrowing a huge amount of money from outside, you are going to pay, let's say, interest also along with the principal amount. The amount of interest that you are paying, it is much higher than the total expenditure that you are incurring in your healthcare or in your educational spending in the country. So that is a, let's say, bad picture for a good economy, right? So this is the thing. Are you understanding this part? So in this article, the author finally says that to avoid worst case scenario, the need for fiscal correction is all the more vital in this election year. Okay, so author says we need to go for fiscal, let's say, like, you know, correction. We need to go for fiscal correction. That's the thing. And here in this article, the author has talked about that we have this FRBM Act. Okay, we have FRBM Act of 2006. What is this FRBM Act? FRBM stands for Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act. Okay, it stands for Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act. This Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act in India, basically it puts a limit, right, on the amount of money that the state government and central government can borrow. So what are the limit that it puts? It says that in case of central government, okay, in case of central government, it can borrow up to 40% of its GDP. In case of state government, it can borrow, right? In case of state government, it can borrow up to 20% of its gross state domestic product. This is known as GSDP, right? And in case this is GDP of the country. And put together, right, these two things put together, the FRBM has set a limit of 60%. Okay, put together, they have put a limit of 60% on this. But in case of India, right, the borrowal amount by the central government, it exceeds, let's say, like 81%. It exceeds 81 to 84%, like that. So this is the thing. So this article talks about that we need to adopt fiscal prudence, right? We need to, let's say, borrow less. We need to go for, let's say, better measure. Then we came across this article. I'm not going to write much because like I've discussed about it in the past as well. It says understanding the peace pact with ULFA. Here, let's say some keyword is mentioning, missing ULFA. Understanding the peace pact with ULFA. What is ULFA? Let's discuss about this. Okay. So this is another topic. Understanding the peace pact with ULFA. Here we will understand about what do we mean by ULFA. ULFA stands for United Liberation Front of Assam. Liberation Front of Assam. So this is the name, full form of ULFA. But Assam, now we know Assam as Assam, right? This is the thing. So how did this organization came into being, right? Why did this organization came into being in the first place, and what peace pact has been signed recently? So we are going to discuss about that peace pact also, right? So before this, let us understand the genesis of this particular organization, right? Genesis means historical aspects related to this, right? How this organization came into being. So basically the ULFA people, right? United Liberation Front of Assam people, what they do, they basically, like, here we are talking about a state of Northeast India. In Northeast India, there, let's say, like, let me just quickly draw a map of Northeast India. So this is map of Northeast India. Here inside Northeast India, we have a state in the middle. This state is known as the state of Assam, right? This middle state is state of Assam. So in Assam there is ULFA. So how did ULFA form? Basically these people, right, who have formed ULFA, they had a notion that people from outside, people from Bangladesh, people from, let's say, Myanmar, nearby places, they have come to Assam, and after then they have settled down here, and their population has increased so much that they are actually overpowering the indigenous population over here. So they have created a militant group, they have created an armed group. They have started recruiting people who, let's say, put up the arms, and they started abducting people, executing people. Abducting means kidnapping people, executing means killing people, right? So they resorted into those kind of activities. So this has led to widespread unrest in the state of Assam, right? This has led to widespread unrest in the state of Assam. But when we talk about the peace pact that was recently signed, okay, we are going to discuss about peace pact, right, that was recently signed. This peace pact was signed, it is a tripartite peace pact, okay? It is a what? Tripartite peace pact. Tripartite peace pact means here three parties are there. On one side there is, let's say, like, state government of Assam, okay? State government. On one side there is state government of Assam. Then you have the ULFA, United Liberation Front of Assam, and then there is Ministry of Home Affairs, or we can say central government, especially Ministry of Home Affairs. So they have signed a peace pact. So what is this peace pact all about? Basically the ULFA faction, they want to come to power, right? They want to acquire power in Assam. But the thing is, the state government, central government, they were behind them because these people were doing illegal activities, abducting people, killing people. So these activities are against the law, right? These activities are in conflict with the law. So the thing is, anyone who does it, they will be put behind the bars. They will be, let's say, serving the life imprisonment, or let's say, like, you know, the courts are going to take verdict on that case. So recently the central government, the state government, they have thought of, that is, coming to a peace pact, and these ULFA people have been asked to go for democratic process. What? To go for democratic process. Democratic process means, if you want to acquire power, you need to fight election, right? You denounce your arms, do not put up arms, right? Leave your arms behind. We are not going to prosecute you for the previous act that you have done, but the thing is, you denounce arm, and then what we are going to do, like, you can participate in the election process, right? You can fight in the election. If you win the election, you will come to power. That's the thing. So this is the peace pact that has been signed. In this article, basically they have talked about the past history of ULFA as well. Okay, so this is the thing. But, like, you know, in ULFA also there are two factions. One faction, right, which that heads the ULFA, so they did not come and participate in the debate. But the other faction, this particular person, you can see, has come forward to interact with the government. Okay, so this is the thing. So with this, now let us move to another article. This article says, why is upskilling necessary for rural youth? Right? Why we need to upskill the rural youth? It is because of many factors, right? We are going to discuss about this article as well. Why is upskilling necessary for the rural youth? Now, there are many reasons for this, right? Why upskilling is necessary for the rural youth. When we talk about rural areas, right? Rural areas. In rural areas, there are many problems as well. Okay, what are the problems? Let's discuss about issues that rural areas face, right? I'm just directly going to write down those issues. Number one, in rural areas, the avenues of employment are less. Avenues of employment are less. This is one thing. Then there is farm distress also. What? Farm distress. Farm distress means the farming activity is not able to generate that much amount, that much profit to the rural youth that they can be happy, they can be satisfied in the rural areas also. Farm distress is there. And because farm distress is there, this is leading to a kind of situation of out migration, right? A situation of out migration. Out migration means people are moving from rural areas to urban areas, and they are moving from rural areas to urban areas in search of job, right? They need job. So this is the thing. And since out migration is there, right? So the thing is, recently there was a report, right? There was an international report. In that international report, one of the agency, right, has mentioned that like by the year of 2047, 50% of Indian population will be living in urban areas. So according to that report, by 2047, 50% of Indian population, right? 50% of Indian population will live in urban areas. Why? Because in rural areas, there are less avenues of employment. Farm distress is happening, out migration is happening, people are leaving their rural areas, people are moving to urban areas in search of job. So the thing is, like, you know, more people are now living in urban areas. Urban areas also have a lot of problems. So in this article, you know, author is suggesting that there is a solution also to this issue. There is a solution to this, let's say, like, you know, out migration, and that solution is we need to upskill the rural youth. Okay, what we need to do? We need to upskill the, let's say, like, you know, rural youth. Why we need to upskill the rural youth? So the thing is, if they are skilled, right, if they are skilled, they will be able to generate, let's say, like, enterprises in the rural areas, or if they move to urban areas, they will be able to grab high paying jobs, right? They will be able to work in those companies that pay highly, so that they can have decent standard of living. This is the thing. So that's why the author says that there is a need of upskilling and reskilling of rural youth, so that they can generate good profit, they can generate, let's say, or they can get good employment opportunities. So this is the thing. So here author says the current vocational education landscape in rural India is interspersed with industrial training institution to upskill rural population, but with little to no placement opportunities. So, like, you know, we need to create placement opportunities also for the rural youth. This is the thing. So with this, let us now move to another article. Okay, so one of the user is, let's say, viewer is writing something. Great work, sir. Thank you so much. Sir, is there any chance to connect between rural and tribal people to educate them? Yeah, definitely. We do have, let's say, many ways of connecting, right, rural and tribal people, right? So Government of India has recently come up with a scheme, right? Government of India has come up with a scheme, right? What is that? What is name of that scheme? So this is a scheme related to artisans. Okay, PM Vishwakarma scheme. PM Vishwakarma scheme. So under this PM Vishwakarma scheme, the Government of India has, let's say, identified 17 to 18 different, let's say, like, you know, artisans, and these artisans will be provided a skill. I mean, like, they will be, let's say, trained, right, to market their products. They will be trained to, let's say, like, you know, improve their quality of products. And those people who attain the training under PM Vishwakarma scheme, they will be provided, let's say, like, you know, some amount for attending training as well. I think 5,000 to 15,000 rupees is there, right, for those people who want to attain the training, who want to attend the training session. They will be provided certificates also, and after attending the training, they can let's say, like, seek institutional loan from the government. Okay, so loan facility is also there as part of PM Vishwakarma scheme. So this is one of the scheme through which, let's say, like, you know, the government can connect with the rural youth, right? They can connect with those people who are doing their work manually, right? And also for the tribal population, we do have, let's say, Ministry of Tribal Affairs. It keeps on coming with one or other schemes. Recently, there was a scheme by the Ministry of Tribal Affairs. Under that scheme, they want to club together all the 15-16, right? All the 15-16 schemes that were already working. And in India, for tribals, we have, let's say, like, you know, when we talk about for tribals, right, we have PVTGs, particularly vulnerable tribal groups. There are 75 PVTGs that are there, and through that scheme of the Ministry of Tribal Affairs, they want to provide benefit to particularly vulnerable tribal groups. That's the thing. So with this, let us move to this article. This article says 50% of cybercrime plaints originate in China, pockets of Cambodia and Myanmar. So cybercrime means the crime that is done on the cyberspace. Cyberspace means on the internet. For example, you are using your computer and someone is hacking your computer, right? You don't get access to the computer and you get a pop-up message that asks for, let's say, payment. For example, they ask that you pay this particular amount to unblock your computer. So this is known as cyber attack, and the tool that they use, it is known as ransomware. Okay, because, like, you know, after hacking your system, they're asking for ransom, they're asking for firoti from you, right? Unless and until you pay them, they will not unblock your computer. All the information that is there in your computer, they will get encrypted. You will not be having the decryption key related to it. So the thing is, in India, many cyber crimes are reported on a regular basis, and there is a agency which is known as Indian Cybercrime Coordination Center, right? Indian Cybercrime Coordination Center. Indian Cybercrime Coordination Center. So this Indian Cybercrime Coordination Center actually works under the Ministry of Home Affairs, right? It works under Ministry of Home Affairs, and it has recently notified that more than 50% of the cyber crimes that originate in that happen in India, they have their origin in China, pockets of Cambodia and Myanmar. And they have talked about that more than 5,000 cases are registered every day with Indian Cybercrime Coordination Center. This is the thing. This is just a data, and other information is mentioned, but it is important that we need to safeguard our computer systems. So that's why nowadays people are building quantum computers, right? Quantum computers. I have discussed about quantum computers in the past as well. I'm not going to go in detail related to that now. It says 55% of patients given antibiotics only as a preventive measure, says survey. Now here we need to understand there are some people who may get cough, cold, etc. So they may reach a doctor, they may go to get some prescription from the doctor what needs to be done, and the doctor may give, let's say, like, name of your medicine, that you take this, you take this, you take this. That is the prescription by the doctor. So patient does not know, I mean, like, beyond what the doctor prescribes, and patient takes those medicines, starts let's say like intaking those medicines. But a report has recently been released. According to that report, 55% of patients are given antibiotics only as preventive measure, and antibiotic overuse is happening in India. And in this article they have said that 95% of patients were prescribed antibiotics even before a definitive diagnosis of the infection. Means, like, even if you don't have any bacterial infection, you will be given antibiotics. This happens in 94% of the cases, and only 6% of the patients were given antibiotics after confirmed diagnosis. Means doctors are not diagnosing, doctors are not identifying what is your disease, and they are directly prescribing what? Antibiotics. I am not blaming the doctors, but generally it happens, right? If you go to a medical store, right, over the counter, like if you ask for medicine, they will give, like, few doses of medicine, and some of them will definitely have antibiotics. So antibiotics is given even when it is not needed, even without proper diagnosis, proper inspection, proper, let's say, like, inspection. So the thing is, even before diagnosis, if you are giving some medicine, that medicine is going to create some kind of resistance in your body. So if in future you are affected by a bacteria, and if you are given antibiotics, your body will not recognize that antibiotics. Means, like, that antibiotics will be harmless. I mean, like, that antibiotics will not be able to be effective, right, for your treatment. So this is the thing. In this article, basically they have talked about a report by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, and the ministry has released the results of the survey that is conducted by the National Center for Disease Control, and they have mapped the patients. They have, let's say, like, surveyed about 10,000 patients, and they have identified that antibiotics are given without diagnosis whether a patient has bacterial problems or not. So this is the key cause of antimicrobial resistance, right, AMR, right? And we have, let's say, like, so this is the thing, these are the problems. Okay, so now we have another article. It says SpaceX Falcon 9 to launch India's GSAT-20 satellite to spread broadband coverage. So SpaceX is a private space agency which is based in United States of America. SpaceX is being owned, it is owned by Elon Musk, and they have a launch facility, I mean, like, launching rocket. It is known as Falcon 9, right? So using Falcon 9, they are going to launch India's GSAT-20 satellites, and these GSAT-20 satellite, right, this is the GSAT-20 satellite will be used for broadband coverage, for providing internet services to Indian people, right? So it will be put in the Ka band, right? This is known as high throughput Ka band. So when we talk about, let's say, frequency bands, in which frequency band it is going to operate, right? So it is going to operate in Ka band. So there are different frequency bands, Ka band, Ku band, right? There are different frequency bands. These are known as radar frequency bands. So it is going to operate in that frequency band, and the GSAT-20 satellite will be used for communication purposes, for providing, let's say, internet services to Indian people. And India is utilizing the services by a private space agency. This is the thing. Thank you so much. Thank you, Nobita. So you are saying I'm a pharmacy student, I'm new on your channel, you are sharing good information. Thank you so much. Thank you. So this is the thing. So that's all from my side for the day. Thank you so much everyone for attending today's session. I hope you have a great day ahead. Thank you. And thank you, Nobita. Thank you so much for attending today's session. I hope it might have been a good session, right? You can also watch our previous sessions and future sessions that we are going to have. So they will help you to, let's say, cover the newspaper, the Hindu newspaper every day. That will be all from my side for the day. Thank you so much.